Hi, I'm Patrick, and this is the Mach-E vlog. If you saw our video on Slate Auto, you know that we were super excited. We put in our reservation the night it was revealed. We were there. But today we were at ACT Expo, ACT Expo, that's Advanced Clean Transportation Expo. And we're going to talk with Christian with Slate about the fleet side of things for Slate Auto. So we were just having a conversation, and you were telling me, like, one of the big things that Slate is going to be targeting is the fleet customer. And you guys have already been like previewing. What's been the response?
So it's been overwhelming. So, one of the things that we always think about is like disruptive, and we have all these words, but I got to tell you, Slate actually is disrupting the whole thing in a good way. People are reimagining how they can do their fleets. They're reimagining how can I save, because that's so important right now. So many companies are struggling with financial reasons, high interest rates. So bottom line is, when you see something that's way under in the price point for the market, and then something that's so highly variable that, it just opens up doors. And it was interesting you said that, because about the fleet versus the retail.
Right.
So when we first wanted to come out of the get-go, we really did emphasize the retail customer. But shortly after we found out that ACT and NAFA were right in our backyard, right in Long Beach and here in Anaheim, it was like, okay, we got to introduce the fleet side of this too. Because, there's a synergy between fleet and retail, which is, number one, a lot of fleet people, they have a personal car.
Right.
But then likewise, when you as a retail customer see that your local municipality or your electricity company or any of the services.
The company that installed our solar had a gas truck, and you're like, you're installing solar, why don't you have an EV?
There you go. What a mixed message.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, I live in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. So I live in the middle of nowhere. But when I don't see electric vehicles, chargers, it's hard to be that first person to break in. But when you start seeing that your municipality and even your mail provider is using EV, it starts to make sense. Yeah. And it's like, I don't have to be afraid of this thing. So we really are trying to capitalize on that synergy, that this thing, even though you probably heard the term SKU 1, when it comes off the line, it doesn't know that it's fleet. It doesn't know who it is until we assign it and now customize it. But at the end of the day, our fleet customers can benefit so much from this.
Yeah, so just like on the consumer side, it's not going to be like this is a commercial version. It's going to be whether you have the standard battery or the extended range, and then that's where all the customizations come in.
That's exactly it.
And for fleet customers, that could be like huge. Like to get exactly what they want. Without, like, if they want the SUV back, but they don't want the rear seats, they can configure whatever they want. It just sounds like it provides those options.
And that's what it's all about, is options on what I like to say on the same chassis. So, imagine if you're a fleet owner and you need to have SUV capability, van capability, truck capability, you got to buy at least 3 different vehicles. With this, you buy one, what we call like the chassis or the base vehicle. And then as your needs change, even on a day-to-day basis, it's so easy to convert this thing to like the SUV. Let's say, you start off the day and, it's a bright sunny day and you got the truck bed open, and then suddenly the weather changes on you. You can actually convert this thing easily to the SUV or the van. So, that capability just opens up the doors for fleets to, again, reimagine. And the thing that we're really proud of is it really encourages you to get into the EV space, because now you're not thinking in terms of like expensive powertrain. It's literally now this EV actually can save my TCO and save my dollar.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that, like, people might go and say, like, let's try an EV pickup truck. But when the EV pickup truck is $70,000, that's a big investment. Of course, they may be spending that on their gas trucks, but this is like an easy way to test the waters and see, does that work for me?
You got it. And that is the key to the fleet too, is what we're already experiencing is people saying, give me 2, give me 3 to start, especially with some of our larger fleets. And then we know it's just going to be exponential. So once they see the capability, and as you say, then it lets you ease in. And the other great thing is, because you're not putting up so much money in front for just the vehicle, it allows you to have have that extra capital to pay for the infrastructure, the charging, all the things that go into it. Because the total package, when you put together the vehicle, the chargers, if you're larger and need like depot charging, it gets really expensive really quickly. So what we're doing at Slate is saying, hey, let's start with the vehicle and get that to a price point that you're really comfortable with and still have all of the capability. So, and sorry, I keep pointing.
I know,
here's
so
the vehicle.
Well, and then of course, like one of the things we also talked about earlier is like some of your pre-announcement advertising all involved businesses. Like this one is Joyce Wright, so I thought it was a cool way to advertise it, but it also made me think could be a great way. As easy as you're making this the wrap, like you could do like your winter wrap if you're a business, and then you have some springtime specials. Let's pull off, maybe not the whole thing, or you could, but like we're going to just rewrap it with a different special.
And let me just give you an example of that. So, like where I live, we truly have 4 seasons. So if you're a landscape company, you're thinking about spring blooms and summer weeding and, all these kind of things, and it's all seasonal. And then, you've got Christmas time, you put the lights up, all this kind of stuff. So you're exactly right. You can brand your vehicle very simply, brand it to whatever your needs are, whether it's seasonal, whether it's your business kind of grows and changes. A lot of businesses start one way and they end up metamorphosing into something different. You don't want to have to pay thousands of dollars to repaint your vehicle. And one of the things I also wanted to just point out is there's another side to fleet that we often don't talk about in retail, which is a lot of fleet people are immediately thinking, what do I get at the back end when I have to sell this vehicle to get a new one?
Right.
Because let's face it, in fleet, we tend to be a little bit tougher on vehicles. The cycle, the life cycle.
And you like me, like I'll drive a car till it breaks down, maybe.
For sure.
But a fleet customer, they have to like plan for when they're going to upgrade.
That's exactly it. And imagine this scenario. So you buy a van or a truck and you have to upfit it, meaning you got to put a lot of accessories on it to make it just what you need. If those things can't be removed easily, you're stuck with that when you try to resell that. And now you can only sell to customers that also need that very niche, configuration. With the Slate, when you're done with that vehicle, you can keep all the accessories yourself, so you're not losing any investment. And now when you resell it, it can be a pickup truck.
That's really cool.
That anybody can buy.
Now, the other thing is like the wraps and the accessories, like in my mind, it was like, these are things that, complicated to add, difficult to add in a normal sense and traditionally. But one of the best things that you guys did at the reveal party, and I don't think a lot of people covered it, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it, but Chris, the CEO, said, we're going to transform that gray 2-door pickup into an SUV. And they did it on stage in an hour. It was behind sort of a semi-translucent curtain, but that was amazing. And that's sort of like part of this is what will make this successful. And a differentiator is that it isn't like I got to like drop it off at a shop and have them put the rack on and they'll call me in 2 or 3 days. And then I got to take it to the wrap shop and 2 or 3 days later and you've lost all this time. This is designed to be, it could be done by me, consumers, but you could also have some technicians or very quickly get this turned around.
That's exactly it. And Patrick, you used the right word, time. Time is money. And so when you have that in the shop because you need to get a new paint job or you need to do something to reconfigure it and it's 5 days, some of these upfits can be months. Imagine how much business you're losing. And we kind of talked about the fact that a lot of times that person who's normally your electrician, your plumber, whatever, now have to become your technician. And so they're not in the field doing what your business is all about. So you're absolutely right. That uptime is a huge factor for fleet, and that's exactly what this is designed for, is to just totally decrease the downtime, which increases your uptime.
And it seems like it just pairs well because it is electric, so there should be less maintenance. There's no oil changes or whatever. Easier to like add accessories, take accessories off. But we also had a little bit of conversation too, talking about like even in, the bad case scenario, you get into a fender bender or something like that, it should also translate into quicker repairability, less insurance losses. So it's like there's like wins all the way around on this.
That's very true. And, you know, one of the things that we always like to say, because you got to stay humble, I would have loved to say that all of this was thought out when we developed this. But the exciting thing for us internally is all of these things that you're like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing. So we're discovering also, just like you are, all the benefits of this vehicle.
You know, like, I don't want to give you too many kudos until you actually produce a truck that's for sale, but like, I think that's a sign of a genius invention, is like when you create something and you have this in mind, and then you go like, oh, but it can also, like, it does this thing and there's this benefit. I think there's a lot of things about this that just are checking a lot of boxes, including the crank windows, which is something that, you know, for a few was controversial, but I could see even fleet customers, like, this is sort of like the perfect interior. As consumers, we like the, you know, stripped down versions to save money, but for fleet customers, it's like, yeah, you know, my guys don't need power windows, or maybe they do so they can get the kit, but they don't need an AM/FM stereo. So
That's
why?
exactly,
you know, and I'm sure the big OEMs are going, yeah, well, it's only $50 to install it, but we can sell it for a $100 upgrade. But here, it's like, yeah, you just don't need it.
For sure, and that is very true. The two things that the OEMs have going against them is, one, the up costs on everything, but also complexity. Is, you know, for the traditional model of how, like, the bigger OEMs build things, if you have vehicles that don't have a radio, some that do, some that have an AFM, you know, to have a seat, that's a ton of complexity on the line. Our process is very different because it's all about SKU 1, as we say, so that vehicle that comes out, and then we accessorize. So we don't have to worry about all the complications of complexity and, you know, making sure that vehicle all the way back at what we call BIW, or body in white. So when it literally drops, we don't have to worry about that. So, and you know, you hit the nail on the head. I am very proud to be part of a company that had just brought together, synergized on what people knew from the field and some of the things that went wrong, all the lessons learned, brought all that together to really think this through. And that's why we were in stealth for so long. And I got to tell you, I'm not good at keeping my mouth shut. So it was hard to not tell even just your closest friends what you're working on.
I can only imagine.
But it was for a reason, because we wanted to work out all the bugs beforehand. Because one of the things we're confronted with is there's just too many EV startup companies that came and went. And we don't want to be that. Right. So, and I think we've proven that we're not.
And I'm literally sitting here as we're talking, thinking about some of the other things that people have said about this that could be turned into advantages, because like there is no infotainment system, which again, if you're a fleet customer, you probably don't care, but you may want to have, you know, like your customers programmed in and mapping and things like that, an alert system of like, hey, there's a call over here. You don't have to integrate in an infotainment system. You could literally have an iPad mounted that's basically the fleet software running. So
That's exactly it.
Like, again, it's like I'm literally thinking about these things as we're just having this conversation. It seems like that's a great way of justifying no infotainment system.
Well, and Patrick, you're very right, because, you know, one of the things that does have to be considered in fleet is what you said. A lot of fleet managers in particular don't want a lot of sophisticated infotainment because it's a distraction. But for a lot of our fleet customers, they also bring that vehicle home and do use it for personal use. So imagine in this case, now you've got a vehicle that you can choose. You know, by day, it's stripped down, but by night, I just take out my iPhone, you know, plug it in, and now I've got my, you know, nice system. So you're spot on. I mean, all these different things that just coalesce to just say, yeah, this thing is really unique.
Yeah. Well, we're less than a week from when it was launched, and we've already like brainstormed a bunch of ideas. I'm really excited to see. Again, it's going to be like the same as for consumers. So you're looking at Q4 2026.
Yep.
Under 20,000 with incentives.
Correct.
Who knows what will be in that case, but great price point. We're really excited to see it on the consumer side. best of luck on the fleet side.
Well, I
we
really
would
appreciate
love
it.
to follow along this story as you get fleet customers and tell their story as well. Because I think
for sure.
there's going to be some great stories.
Well, and one of the exciting things about it is soon after reveal, so like at the end of May, we're going to embark on a national road tour.
Nice.
And we're welcoming anybody to join us. You know, it's literally going to be this, every major city we're going to go around, and everybody is welcome to just join in the excitement and the fun, and you're going to learn along the way, just like we are.
That's so cool. You'll probably get some new ideas.
Oh, for sure,
'Cause
for sure.
Again, I think that's the beauty of something like this, is like you'll take it to Arizona and you'll have different suggestions in Michigan, as you were saying.
Absolutely. And Patrick, you know, again, especially in the fleet world, there's nothing more frustrating when you have to figure out how to make something work. It's like, okay, I buy this thing and the engineers are telling me this is what it's supposed to be, and it's just not fitting me.
Yeah.
We're reversing that and saying, we want to hear what is it you need, and we'll engineer it. So
That's very awesome. Well, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, well, thank
Have a
you.
great ACT Expo, and
For
we'll see
sure.
you on the road when you do the national tour.
hey, for sure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.